Hello, my name is Donna Marie, health coach, yogi, and death doula. I'm also the host of the Best Life of Wellbeing podcast, designed to encourage you to focus on your overall well being by stepping out of your comfort zone and stepping into embracing your whole life in order to live fully and die peacefully. Hello, everyone. I am so excited to bring today's whole life conversation to you with Kenna L. Williams. Listen, as we talk about her leaving her aerospace engineering career and lifestyle in Los Angeles to follow her dreams, her purpose, her passion to explore life as an entrepreneur in beautiful Johannesburg, South Africa. We talk about her end of life plan. We talk about what she believes her legacy will be, and she shares tips on how to relocate to another country if you're interested and how to be a better solo traveler. You don't want to miss this amazing conversation.
Good afternoon, Kenna Williams. Good morning from me. Good afternoon to you.
Hello.
From Washington, D.C. to South Africa. Thank you for being here this afternoon and making time for me. I know you're extremely busy and always on the go, so I am grateful that you had this time available.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
So I want to introduce you, but I also want you to introduce yourself. So I think it's great. You're a Kenna Williams LLC. It's your business. You recently moved from Southern California to South Africa from your aerospace engineering position to managing your own business as an entrepreneur from South Africa. And soon after you did that, I think COVID hit.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so I think you're an amazing human being. I think you're an extremely resilient woman. And I think I met you, I've been in your presence twice. The first time I met you was at the No Madness anniversary party. Mm-hmm. And the second time was on Dubai Blackout 2018, I think.
Yes.
So, and so a person might ask, well, how do you know she's amazing? And how do you know? But you are very transparent on social media, and that's why I know you're amazing. So can you first just tell me a bit about yourself, your bios is a lot, but I want to hear from you. You share.
Sure. Well, I'm Kenna Williams. I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee, but I went to school in St. Louis, Missouri, and had a federal job in Southern California where I was there for roughly 20 years or so. And 2019, I had a life epiphany, decided, I'm tired, let me do something different. I walked away from an almost 20-year career and moved to South Africa, and I've been here almost 3 years now, going on 3 years.
And you seem to be, adjusting very well. I looked at another interview you did, and you talked about the lockdown and how you were impressed with the way everything was handled in South Africa. But how was it just being a new citizen in a new place, not just a new place, a whole new country with a totally different culture than your own? I can't imagine what that was like. And you are very popular, so it seems you had a really good support group. But talk about that experience a little bit during COVID.
Okay, well, our lockdown here, I would say, was very probably extreme. The first couple of months or so, you could only go to like 3 places, which would be, you could go to the grocery store to buy food, you could go to the doctor, and I think you could go to work. And if you were working, you had to have a special pass to allow you to go to your job. Other than that, no one was on the streets. The grocery stores, that's really the only place you could really go. There were no restaurants open, no Uber Eats. And for me, at the time, I didn't cook. I was like, it's a single woman. So the president here in South Africa told us, he said, hey, everyone here, you must learn how to cook. So, so that's what I did the first few months. But it was really, I wouldn't say that it was difficult. I think because you look at it and say, I am not the only person impacted here. Everyone is impacted here. I'm not any more special than the guy that lives down the street from me or whatever. We all basically went through this together where, I think South Africa was probably scared. We didn't want our numbers to go like they were going in Europe or in other countries. And so we basically stayed indoors. I was in my house for 2 to 3 weeks at a time, just there.
And so I thought it was very impressive that, you picked up that cooking thing and ran with it.
I had to feed myself because nothing was open.
And not just ran with it, like your meals look amazing. So kudos to you. And that goes back to that well-being statement. You took what you had, you created a joyful experience. You were even brewing. I saw, you were doing all kinds of creative things. Moving to South Africa. I often dream about just spending a month in South Africa. You picked up and you moved. I've moved to many states. It's expensive to move to a state.
It is.
First of all, I want to understand your travel appetite and how that started. I mean, obviously an aerospace engineer, hey, there's a start. But did it start with nomadness or was it prior to nomadness? You seem to have been everywhere. And not only do you seem to travel everywhere, but you've got a tribe everywhere.
Well, I would say, as far as travel goes, I would say this comes from my grandmother. My grandmother, she would love to travel. She never traveled overseas, but she would travel all the time. She would get in a car with other relatives. They would drive from Mississippi to California. I would say my grandmother was the only person that visited me the most when I lived in California because she was willing to go. She visited even more than my parents visited me. So I would say some of that is from her. Also, I understand I'm a descendant of Matthew Henson, who, most people know with the North Pole, Edmund Hillary. Yeah. So I feel like some of that blood is still running in me. And also I'm a Sagittarius. So we like to go places. This is part of our life. If we don't go anywhere, we're feeling stagnant. Our hands are like, oh my gosh, am I going somewhere? It's just basically a part of my life. And I've been traveling probably before nomadness. I was doing just a little bit of international traveling. And then after that time frame, I started seeing new places. And when I was working in California, I had a job assignment where I had to go to the Marshall Islands. And that was the first trip that I've ever taken that was really what I would call overseas. And that trip, basically, I would say it really changed my life. When I came back from that trip, I was so, people say a trip can change them. I basically wrote a 5-page letter, typed 5-page letter to my sorority sisters to say, I can't believe that there's a whole new world. I'm sure they were looking at me like, this girl's crazy. But I'm like, there's this whole world out here, and there are people that look like this, and there are people that talk a certain way, and there are people that are genuinely welcoming. They will show you their lifestyle, their food, their culture, their religion, whatever, how they live. And I was just like, I can't believe that this, is such a thing. And, we read about things in books. I mean, it's one thing to read about it, but to actually experience it was something that was really life-changing. I still, I can look back at pictures from the time I was there and say, wow, this was really the point that really changed my life. And now that I'm thinking about it, that point was, I want to say, just 15 years ago. So it wasn't that long ago.
So between then and now, 15 years, have you done much traveling in the US, first of all? All right, forget that then.
No. Let's go to it. I will say that in the US traveling, I have done not a lot as I would like to. But this gives me an opportunity to go to some places that I haven't been. Like, I've never been to Kentucky, I've never been to Maine, Connecticut, Nebraska. These are places that I've never been that I would like to go eventually. I've been to other places, the state of Washington, Alaska, in places like that, and a few places on the East Coast, but definitely I would like to increase my US numbers.
So I'm at 49 states, and my US numbers are high because I hate to admit this sometimes, but I'm really afraid of international travel. It took me a long time to, just to realize that within myself, because I'm mostly a solo traveler. And international solo travel is intimidating for many people, to include me. And so how many countries have you visited in continents?
I've been to all of the continents except for Antarctica. I haven't been to that many. I would say just under 50. I would say just under 50. But my thing is, I've been to so many countries several times. Like Panama, I've probably been there more than 10 times. UAE, obviously more than 10 times. Just so many, Mexico, more than 10 times. So I'm a repeat traveler. There are people that don't like to see a place twice. Me, I feel like you can always see something different. So I will go to a place several times.
Speaking of the UAE, Dubai blackout, it was this year the 9th anniversary?
This past year was, I think, the 8th. So we started in 2014. So we skipped 2020, obviously, because of COVID. So did 2021 and getting ready to do 2022 and looking forward to 2023 and 2024 and so forth.
Well, if you're loving it, I guess why stop?
Yes.
and then your last trip, you had 500 people?
The last trip we had, I think it was 230 for that one. This upcoming one, we have 400 for the October trip this year. That
alone is amazing. I don't know if you have a lot of repeat travelers on that trip, but it is life-changing. It's really life-changing to experience that with you, because like I said, for me, traveling solo to a place it makes me nervous. And then traveling with you, I realized I can do this on my own. It's easy to navigate. It's safe. And, and so I learned that through traveling with you. So I appreciate
Awesome.
Yeah, Dubai blackout. Talk to me a bit about your business. Kenna L Williams LLC was founded in 2017. Other than Dubai blackout, what do you do with your as an entrepreneur?
I do a lot of things. As far as trips, I have other trips. Dubai is probably the one that I'm most known for, but I also do South Africa, Fiji, Colombia, Panama, Morocco, Bali, Mauritius, just other places. So not just limited to that. And I also do a little bit of consulting to either individuals or smaller travel companies, basically giving them information that they need to start their own companies. And also I will do itineraries and things like that for people that request those. But the bulk of our business is mainly, I would say, group trips.
And have you experienced, what I'm experiencing, just being nervous about traveling internationally? And how would you recommend a person like me or anyone listening overcomes that fear? Obviously, like I said, when I got to Dubai, I realized, this is doable. They speak my language. I can get around easily. But there are other places. Even I would think before I've gone to South Africa, I would have thought, even Johannesburg. First of all, Johannesburg alone is super duper intimidating. How have you become comfortable, and what can you say to people to help them become comfortable, even in places where there could be a potential language barrier?
I would say just go and trust your gut. If something doesn't feel right, I'm one of those people. If it just doesn't feel right, I'm getting out of the situation. That means, hey, I'm not getting out of this cab, or I'm going to keep going, or I'm changing hotels or anything like that. But I am also a planner. So I'm one of those people that I will have a little book with, okay, this is what I want to do. And I also have after my Panama accident in 2015, my family forced me to put together a little Facebook page so I could always tell them where I was at all times. So, so someone always knows, where I am at all times. This is the hotel I'm staying. This is the flight I'm taking, or if I decide to change or stay an extra day or whatever, someone in my family, they always know. And someone in my family, someone's actually, they have passports. So if anything were to happen, they can come down to see about me if they had to. So, but it doesn't necessarily scare me at this point in life. I just feel like for me, international traveling is just like going to work. You just moving to another location. You're just getting out of your car and opening up a new door to a different place to see, hey, what does this place have? So I just say go with it and try not to, operate in fear, which is, false evidence appearing real, which I'm sure you've heard that many times. Basically just push forward and just go.
You're right. That's what you got to do. Just push forward and just go. You had an accident on a trip. It was a group trip, from what I understand. You were in Panama. That was what year was that?
2015.
2015. Share with me details of your accident. What happened? And then what have you learned from that as it relates to travel insurance and how to be prepared and have a contingency plan in case there's an accident or in case something is derailed while traveling, particularly internationally?
Okay, that's a great question. For this particular trip, we were in Panama. We went to Panama. This is Martin Luther King Jr. birthday weekend, 2014. We decided to go again for 2015. And during that trip, doing the usual stuff. We were headed up to someone's house to have lunch. And I don't know if you've been to certain areas in Panama. It's hilly, mountainous regions. There are roads that are just twisting and turning all over the place. And we were in an area where it was really interesting. I've been there before, so I knew what to expect. But that particular day, the driver was basically, we're having a good day coming down the hill, and all of a sudden, they said the brakes aren't working.
Oh, wow.
And at that moment, I don't know if you want to talk about facing death. That was one moment where I had decided, okay, if I'm going to die right now, I'm okay. I've done what I've wanted to do in life. I have no regrets. If this is my day, so be it. I just I said, okay, this is it, and just let whatever happen. So during this particular accident, we ended up going off of a cliff, and I'm not really sure how what do you call it, the distance was, but I do recall we were stopped by a tree. I was unconscious, I think, for a long time until I, finally came to. So some of this information was basically given to me. So at that moment, I think we're in the area where people are Spanish speaking. I don't speak Spanish. I think 2 or 3 people in there, they spoke Spanish, but everybody was injured at that time. We depended on basically the help of strangers to come and help us, because we were in a predicament where I was stuck in a vehicle. I could not get out. My ankle was broken. I didn't know it at the time. The military came in and airlifted some of us. I was one of the ones that were airlifted out. And speaking of travel insurance, of all the trips I've taken, I always had travel insurance. This was the one trip I forgot to buy it. So I forgot to buy the travel insurance for this trip, and it was just, insane, insane how I forgot. That was one of the learning lessons where, people say now, oh, there's nothing going to happen. Okay, just like driving every day, I don't think anything's going to happen. However, I have that insurance just in case I need to be airlifted out, or if I were to perish, my remains can be taken out, or medical that needs to be done, because I was in a hospital there for roughly 1 week, and I was in a public hospital. Do not recommend, but that was the case at the time. Fortunately, Noban assisted a lot of us in getting out of Panama, covering the healthcare and so forth. So for that part, I'm forever eternally grateful for that. But I do recommend people get some type of life insurance. Life insurance too, but since we're talking about insurance, but travel insurance. And not a lot of people, they look at travel insurance and say, hey, Well, if I miss my flight, will my bag be covered? And I'm like, you know what? After my accident, I could care less about that bag.
All right.
I want to know, will you pay for this medical bill if I, sprain my hand or hurt my leg, or, I cut myself and I severely injured and need stitches or whatever? Are these things covered? So that's something that people fail to look at.
Can you share advice on, exactly what people should be thinking about, and when considering purchasing insurance, what should they be looking for? What types of details should, they be paying closer attention to when looking at the different options?
They should be looking at the medical cover. Like, how much does the policy cover? Does it cover 10,000 US dollars, or does it cover $1 million? Does it cover 4 million? Does it cover, if you were to pass away, does it cover repatriation of your remains? Does it cover flying a family member in? These are so many different things that these type of insurances can cover. I will advise your viewers to look at sites like squaremouth.com, where you can do comparisons of different types of insurance, or you can look at what I don't have this policy anymore because I'm living overseas, but look at annual travel insurance policies. These policies are generally under $200 a year, and they will cover you as long as your trip is under 30 to 45 days. You're fine.
Okay, that's great advice. Thank you. Now I want to just go back to moving to South Africa, because there's so much to think about. Again, we're moving to a state. There's a lot to think about, but we're moving to South Africa. First, let me back up just a little bit. You left your job. As I've heard you say, my good government job. I left my good government job.
Yes.
And the reason, tell me the reason. Yes, you enjoyed travel, but was there more?
Of course, there was more. Probably like, of course, there was more. I think I was tired of being passed over for positions that I knew I should have at least been in the running for. And I think in 2015, I basically knew at that moment, it was around December 2015, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Other things happened later in years where I ended up, applying again and still nothing happening. So I guess the thing that broke the straw for me was in 2018, my mother passed away on April 7th. And 2 days later, one of my best friends who worked with me passed away. And I think 2 weeks after that happened, I went back to work and I requested 2 months off work, because I'm thinking, my mom passes away. My bestie that we sat together at work, we would throw like pieces of paper over the cubicles and make jokes and go to lunch and what have you. We even traveled together like many, many places. And, this person's no longer there. And you're sitting there and you're just like, I didn't want to be sitting there at work, just boohoo crying the entire time, because I know you can't be effective. You need time to grieve and to heal during that time. Yeah. So after I came back to work in 2 weeks, I asked for my time off work. And my supervisor at the time, she told me, she said, it was time for my performance evaluation. So she said, you're on task to do what you need to get done for your, performance evaluation. So you're on task for that. I'm like, okay, great. But she said, if you're asking for 2 months off work, do you know you can be replaced? And she told me, she said, I think you should pursue your real passion in life. And if your real passion in life means that you're going to leave this job, we will miss you, but we understand. At that moment, I was devastated, because I'm like, how dare you talk to me like this, basically telling me, I can be replaced. My mother just passed away. My bestie just passed as well. And you're telling me I'm replaceable. Wrong time. What I realized years later was that was the best thing she could have told me. The best thing she could have told me at the lowest point of my life. I think I needed to hear, this is not where you need to be. This job, yes, is giving you, the finances to pay for your travels. You can pay your mortgage, but this is not where your happiness is. And I joked about this and I said, it got to the point where I was wearing muumuus to work. That's when I knew it was over. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Work is toxic at times, whether we don't realize it or not. And I think sometimes a lot of us have PTSD and we don't know it until we get out of these situations. I would get to work, walk up the stairs, look through the little window in the door. And if I saw someone coming down the hallway, I would step back like this, wait till they pass because I didn't want to talk to anybody.
So your accident was in 2015. So back to admiring your courage. Your accident was in 2015. Soon after that, you lost your dad. Was that 2016?
Brother and dad. Yes,
brother
and dad.
And dad in 2016. 2018, your mom.
Yes.
What I really, really, truly admire about you is your transparency. So as you were going through all of this, you were sharing it on social media. You were open about it. You were open about your up feelings, your down feelings, and everything in between. And so you when did you start your year of manifest? What year was that?
I think that was 2015, 2016. Year of Yes Manifest. And I even changed my car. That was the license plate. It was Year of Yes.
Tell me again, what year did you leave your job?
I left my job September 30th, 2019.
2019,
Yes.
quite a journey between 2015 and 2019. Yeah, quite a journey. And through it all, you kept a smile on your face. You learned. How do you do that, Kenna? How do keep that, managing your own well-being, understanding what you were going through, what you were feeling, and processing it, sharing it with other people, encouraging them, and even through the process, caring for other people. I remember you talking about your friend that your work buddy that and / travel buddy that you lost at work. And I remember you sharing that information on social media as well. And so I just want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing, because
thank you.
Your life inspires people and your stories are inspiring to people. And so in the midst of all of this, between 2015 and 2019, how did you manage your mental, emotional well-being and keep yourself moving forward?
Well, I'll say this. After the deaths of my brother and my father, I did take 2 months off during that time, and I did a 2-month journey. I was gone. I think I went to 12, 13 different countries, where I tried to do some type of ceremony to honor my brother and father in each location, where I'm laughing about it now because my brother had this tie he used to wear. So I took the tie with me, and every place I went, I would hold it up, take a picture, and post it on his Facebook page so his friends could see the tie. And his dream was to always go to Egypt. So I actually met Jean Olivier, if you remember him, Jean Oliver Olivier, as I like to call him. I met him in Kenya, and we took, I'm laughing now, because I knew Jean was going to Egypt. So we met up at a restaurant there, took a machete, cut the tie in half. I said, take the rest of the tie, bury it somewhere in Egypt. So that's what he did for him. But I think for me, I like to think that that my deceased relatives or ancestors at this point, that they are still here in the spiritual realms. I feel like that they are always like, there are times where I see a ladybug and I'll be like, hey mom, how are you? What's up? You didn't like that thing I cooked today, right? Or make like stories or something like that. Or I will just be like, okay, guys, I'm fine. You guys don't have to worry, whatever, because I feel like, that you can feel their spirit, or, if they're happy or something like that, you can kind of sense that. At least I can sense that.
Yeah.
Although that might be scary to some people, but, I can kind of sense that. But I think for me is to keep, so I guess my parents always kept me very grounded. And we learned about death very early growing up. My parents would take us to funerals. Like we would be like small kids, at funerals, viewing bodies and all of this stuff. So I think my parents prepared us for their death. They really did. They would have, there was something my mother used to have in the laundry room, and it said, "You will miss me when I'm gone." because I'm not here to do your laundry or things like that. And, and we were like, what is this thing? But when you get older, you realize what they mean. I miss my parents, I miss my brother, but I'm not, going to, spend my entire day wallowing or crying or anything
Right.
like that. There are times where you may have a moment where you need to say, okay, let me give this day to, look at these feelings I'm having, talk about it. If you find yourself in a position where you are like stuck and you're stuck for such a long time, therapy is an amazing thing.
Yeah.
It's something that I would recommend people doing, whether it's grief therapy or in general, just to get a little help. It's okay to talk to someone, a friend, a pastor, someone like that. But sometimes we need a little bit more than just that.
I will also add that, you sharing, being open and transparent, you being vulnerable, you
Mhm.
allowing people to see, that is so, also, that's therapy. That really is
Mhm.
therapy. You're not only writing and sharing that information and releasing it actually, but you're inspiring other people, and you're sharing love, and it's a ripple effect. It comes right back to you, which
Mhm.
I've seen in your life. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
What made you want to move to South Africa? And then once you decided this is where I'm going, I can't even imagine the process. Yeah, you got to have a visa. Had you been to South Africa before moving there? Even if I Googled, I don't think I could get a clear picture in my mind of the landscape in South Africa. So yeah, please share how'd you get to the point where you wanted to move, and how'd you decide it was going to be South Africa, and share a bit about the planning required.
Okay, well, I'll tell you, it was not South Africa was not my first choice. In 2018, I was going around saying Malaysia or bust, Malaysia or bust. I'm going to Malaysia. I'm going to Malaysia, and I was so convinced that I was going to Malaysia, to the point where I had researched what visa I wanted to get, what I was going to apply for. I started looking up uh, the house pricing, thinking, okay, I can get this at this price. Okay, this looks reasonable. I've been to Malaysia a few times, so I kind of knew, the neighborhood I wanted to be in. I was like, okay, it's a good gateway city because I can go to Dubai, I can get to Singapore, I can go anywhere I need to go, because Malaysia has Kuala Lumpur, which is like the hub of Asia, if you will, for flights. So everything hits that area.
Yes.
But in 2018, I met a guy. I'm laughing. It's always a guy. But I met a guy in 2018 who lived in South Africa. And when we met, I was like, okay, this guy's cool. He looks nice. Looks like his life is together, what have you. And I could sense that he was falling pretty deep. And we ended up, dating, getting engaged, what have you. What we decided to do was, I just said, you know what? I'll just come to South Africa. I'll just come to South Africa anyway. So lo and behold, 3 months after our engagement, we had an amicable split. I decided I'm going to go anyway. So I actually made the decision, even after our breakup, that I was coming to South Africa, which a lot of people were like, oh, you're coming for him. No, I was coming for me. It had nothing to do with him. I looked at the different visa processes to say, okay, which one will work for my situation. South Africa has, I think, between, I want to say like 12 or 13 different types of visas that you can get here. And I decided, okay, this one works for me. Let me come here on this one. So I opted to apply for a retiree visa. So I applied for that visa in Los Angeles at the South African consulate in Los Angeles, California. And they told me it would take 4 weeks. And to the date, it was exactly 4 weeks. I received the visa, and 6 months later, I think I was already in South Africa, just 6 months later. So that's
Now,
how I ended up here.
all right. So now choosing a place to live, Obviously, I mean, not obviously, I'm assuming you have been to
Mhm.
South Africa more than once prior to moving.
Yes, before coming here, I think I've been to South Africa maybe 7 or 8 times prior to making the decision to move here. And I, been here long enough to know, okay, this area, no, this one's yes, or what have you. So I kind of knew where to move. And this is a segue into another question. A lot of people ask me why am I in the Johannesburg area? Why didn't I pick Cape Town? And I have a bigger base of friends that live here already in Johannesburg versus Cape Town. So it's kind of like I decided, let me move somewhere close to where my security network is. So the support network is here in Johannesburg. There are a large group of Americans here. There are a lot of ladies here, here in the area that they can tell you, okay, this is where you get your hair done. This is where you do this. You want an OBGYN, talk to this doctor. You want this type of person, go here, or what have you. We do have that in Cape Town as well, but it's not as prominent as it is here in the Johannesburg area. So that's one reason I decided, let me just come here.
How do you create the support groups? I think that's really important.
Well, there's so many different groups out there now, especially Black groups that are out there now. You've got Black Americans Living Abroad group and so forth. So what I did was I posted a lot in one particular group to say, okay, this is what I'm doing. One thing I didn't do, which I see a lot of people do in groups, is, hey, I want to do this. And they don't, it's like, I don't know what your criteria is, how much money you're willing to spend, which country works for you, are you this or what have you. So I basically posted, I've done X, Y, Z, ABC, some other stuff here. Did I leave out anything? And people were like, you know what, that list is good. Let me copy what you've done. I think you've done more than what, that they have done. So I basically, and I talked to a lot of people. I talked to people in expat groups until I said, okay, I have enough information to do this. Once I got to South Africa, one thing that they do here, which actually some people don't like, but I actually like, is they will not bring you into the actual social circles until you physically move here, which I like because they want to keep the group tight, cohesive, not people, I'm here on vacation, can you show me where?
Yeah.
No, we don't want that. We're looking for people that are actually here on the ground. And I laugh and I tell them that they even me, they wouldn't let me in until I actually moved here. I knew about them before I got here, but they were like, no, not until you're physically here, set up residence that you're in. And that group, it's a sisters group. They have been an amazing, wonderful group here. They have a lot of information that you can't find on Google. These are things that is tried and true. These people, they know the ins and outs of things that you may not know, like, how to buy a car here, how to do certain things. Things here are not as, although this place, they say it's American-like, not really. There are things that you just don't know.
Yeah. So I just remember being in Cape Town and being blown away. I'm like, okay, there are beaches here and this is beautiful American-like. I felt like I could be on the coast of California somewhere. Yes. It was absolutely gorgeous.
Now I will say, I personally, people always ask me, do I feel safe here? Is it dangerous here? And in my opinion, I mean, you can have an incident that can happen anywhere. You just don't know. I don't wear a lot of fancy jewelry. I don't wear, a lot of stuff. I don't flash cash or pull out wads of cash or anything like that. I just, try to keep a low profile as much as possible. Although when I speak, people hear my accent, that low profile goes out the window because they're like, oh, you're American. Oh, you live here. So once they know that you live here, they know, okay, this person knows the ins and outs. So I'm, cautious, but I don't, feel intimidated or things like that. There are some areas here in the city, which we call no-go zones. And I've been in some of those no-go zones with people that I trust. South Africa, they do have a gender-based violence issue. And that issue, I tend to see it in areas that are impoverished although you can see it in other circles as well. They're bringing awareness to that, and they're trying to fight that. This country is not perfect, by no means not perfect. However, any country you go to, if you're moving there, you have to basically learn how to navigate the city, navigate the culture, navigate the language, navigate so many things, and also be open and receptive and listen.
Like some of the things you think about when you're moving. So your healthcare, health insurance. And I want to ask you, do you have like an end of life plan? You're living there. If you know, all of us, one day we're going to die. So that day happens for you and you're in South Africa. Do you have a plan for your remains? Have you thought about your own end of life planning or decisions?
Yes, great question. I actually was working on that when I was in the States last year in September, and contacted an attorney to basically work that out. I've already talked to my family to let them know what my last plans are, which I don't want to be buried. I just want to be cremated wherever I am. If I die here, don't bring me to the States. Just do what you need to do here, which they understand. Sharonica, if you're listening, you know what to do. They know what to do. Just leave me here. If it happens in Peru, Tanzania, wherever, just leave me there. I don't want to, I've told my family I don't want to be brought back. I don't want to be buried in a box. Let me just be cremated wherever. You can pour me wherever. And they know that. And that's what I worked on when I was in the States last year.
So you have an estate plan and all of that, because I know you still have your house in California.
Right. So I'm actually still working on that. So I've got to meet with an attorney again to finalize our plans for that, because I've got real estate there. I have real estate now here in South Africa. I don't have any children, so that's that. So who gets to have this? Bank account stuff, that stuff's been done already, but I need to work the real estate portion of what I have, especially in this country, which is pretty easy, as you just file the documents with the bank.
Health insurance, you were in the hospital with COVID, and so grateful that you are well and still here with us. But you were in the hospital for an extended period of time. And so then as I was looking at that, I'm like, wow, you got so much to think about when you're in another country. And so wanting to live near the right hospitals, and if you got kids, schools, and all of those facilities. Talk to me a bit about health insurance, and while you're abroad, how obviously you got to buy your own health insurance.
I have a health insurance plan here. I have a global policy. So my policy will cover me here in South Africa, Tanzania, even in the States as well. So I have that policy with Now Health International. They're based out of the UK and also in Dubai. And they will cover, you can pick the type of coverage you want, whether you want routine care or if you want something more extended, you can select that. So I've had that policy for since I've been here. So I basically went with that policy. And so far it's been pretty good. I was in the hospital last year, called COVID, December 2020. I spent all of Christmas, New Year's Day, 18 days in the hospital here in South Africa. And that was an interesting experience, because the day you talked about being where you were located, I actually tried to get into the hospital close to where I was living at the time. Hospital was full, had to end up going to another hospital, some 10, 15 minutes away from where I was located at the time. But fortunately, this is where it's important to have extra access to money, cash at any time you need it, because I actually had to pay a huge deposit just to get into the hospital here.
What has been, like you said, the visa process was pretty straightforward and easy. You did your own paperwork. Did you need help with any of processing or understanding any of that?
I did it myself. I'm actually on my second visa now. My first visa I applied for in 2019. That one expired only because my passport was expiring. So I'm on my second visa now, and that one is good for 4 years. So, but I did all the paperwork myself. Sometimes people use attorneys for this, but this particular type of visa, it's very, they even give you the checklist. So you have the checklist, just fill out everything that's on the checklist. You you pay your money online, go to the office, show up, hand them the paperwork, and then they contact you whenever. So what I originally did was I knew where I wanted to live, and it was an apartment building that I wanted to live in South Africa. So I kept noticing on the website, every time a new apartment would be posted, it would be gone right away. So I was like, okay, this is a hot building. This is probably somewhere I want to live. So I kept looking and looking. I saw an apartment. I was like, okay, I think this apartment will work for me. But because I don't work here, I look like a strange person asking for an apartment because I have no income coming into this country besides whatever is made in my business in the States.
Yeah.
They looked at my visa. I have a retiree visa. And at the time I was 42. And they're looking at me like, what are you doing with this visa? So I look strange. Honestly, I like to joke and say, I think they thought I was a pusher, a real pusher, not
a real pusher kid.
A real pusher. I think they thought I was a real pusher. So what I had to do a lot of negotiating. Normally people pay per the month, but a lot of expats here, they pay in advance because it's just easier to negotiate a lower rent when you're paying in advance. June 2020, my landlord decided to sell her apartment, and I opted not to buy. I actually stayed in that apartment until May 2021, and I actually bought an apartment here. So I moved into my place in May 2021.
So you can own property in South Africa while on a visa.
Or no visa, you can buy.
You can, okay. That's good to know. And then you're not retired, but you're on a retirement visa. Do you have to prove retirement? Like, how do you just be on a retirement visa?
For this particular type of visa, what they require you to have is you need to show that you have 37,000 Rand a month. Either it needs to be coming in or it needs to be in some type of account or somewhere where they can see that you have it. You have to prove that you will not be a burden to the Republic of South Africa. At the time, 37,000 Rand is generally somewhere between 24 to 2,500 a month. Whether you can have that sitting in just your checking accounts, savings accounts, retirement accounts, business accounts, wherever. You submit paperwork showing, hey, I have what you're asking me to have. I'm not going to be a burden to this country. And then they pretty much give you the visa as long as you have, all of the paperwork that you need.
Do you just have money transferred from your US bank accounts to pay any other bills, to buy a car, how does that work? Or do you have a bank account there? Or
yes, I do. Yeah, I have South African bank accounts. So what you do is you can link. There's several ways to do it. So what I like to do is there's a site called Wise. So you put money into a Wise account, or you transfer from your US bank account, and then it'll transfer directly into your South African bank account. It's easier to do business here when you have a bank account here, because there are a lot of places here that don't take, let me say this, in business, there are a lot of businesses here that don't take credit cards, or they don't take PayPal. You need a local bank account to do business here.
In another interview, you said opening the bank account was like one of the most difficult things you...
Oh, it was terrible. It was terrible. I tried to open a bank account and it was like, well, we need this document. I'm like, what more do you need? I've given you my passport. At the time I was renting, they wanted my rental contract, and then they didn't like the way it was. So I had to contact my landlord, have her redo the contract. Then I had to re-sign it. Then I had to send it back to the bank. It was just so much. And the thing about opening international bank accounts, the level of scrutiny is so much. I think even more than the States, because again, they want to make sure you're not opening this account so you can start funneling money into here for money laundering or washing of money, as they call it, putting it in other places or what have you.
So I read a post of yours. This isn't the entire post. My life's purpose, this is it, is to give as much as I can. I'm not very good at time giving, but funds giving helps in many ways. I hope this encourages you to push to help others in your community. And so I want to end by talking about legacy, your legacy. And here you talk about in this post, your life's purpose is to give. I saw one of your nephews in South Africa. And so you adopt people, you find needs because you're so open and you have conversations with people, you learn things about them. And so for the viewers, nephew is just a person I'm gonna let you tell the story, but I also want you to share what your thoughts are about the legacy you would like to leave when you depart this earth.
Okay. Well, Stan, better known as nephew Stan, he's someone that I don't want to say I found him, but he was on the street corner around at the intersection of where my old apartment used to be. He was holding a sign saying that he was looking for a job. He mentioned his degree. He wasn't begging. He wasn't asking for food. He was basically saying, I need a job. And his phone number was listed there. And I was like, this is interesting. So I wrote the number down. I took a picture, went to my apartment, saved the number, sent him a text. And I was like, hey, send a picture. I was like, is this you? He's like, yeah. I said, tell me about you. You know, who are you? What do you do? What are you looking for? What's going on? And I said, let's see if we can help you with something. So he ended up sending me, the man obviously trusted me because he sent me everything. He sent me all of his, he sent me his CV with all of his information on it. He sent all of his educational records, everything when he had graduated, all the grades. He sent everything to me, his former employment history, like everything. I'm thinking, this is a lot of information you're sending to someone you don't even know who they are. He sent all of that information and we started corresponding. I think I ended up calling him like a day or two later. We talked and found out what he was looking for. And I said, okay, as a South African say, watch this space and let's make a plan. So we began to make a plan and I contacted my network here in South Africa. And I was like, okay, ladies, I went to the ladies first because I don't know, ladies just do this better. I'm sorry. Ladies just do certain things better. And we ended up putting posts on LinkedIn, Facebook and what have you. I had friends that reached out to me to help him and so forth. So he ended up getting an interview with one of the biggest companies here in South Africa. I had some friends that did some job coaching with him to help him know exactly what to say in the interview or what have you. So this took maybe a few months or so, but he ended up getting hired by that company, which is Discovery, which is a really good company here in South Africa. He's just doing so well. I call him my son. I don't call him my nephew. I call him my son. When I met him, he was really going through so much at the time. I'm thankful to all of my friends that helped me raise money for him because his job was going to be a job in person where he needed to have, presentable clothes. So, I remember, I don't know if you saw that day I posted that. Yes. We went shopping and he didn't realize what I was really doing. So we went shopping, I pretended like we didn't have a lot of money. Well, we had a lot. And basically whatever was left, I gave him the leftovers and I told him, I said, your bank account must never go below this limit. So we did some financial planning with him. I said, if I ever find out your bank account is below this, I'm coming after you. You better do this. If you have any debts that you owe, pay these debts off, put this money up for this. And so far he's been, on the right path. He's doing the right thing. And he's actually now reaching out to other people that were in his position and basically paying it forward, basically helping other people. So this thing, it just basically became a reaction upon reaction. So you pull one, pull this one, pull this one, pull this one.
So legacy, how do you want to be remembered? And, and what steps are you taking now to ensure that, and none of us know our legacy, right? We've heard Oprah Winfrey talk about Maya Angelou telling her, you don't know your legacy. You have no idea the number of people you've actually touched, and we don't know. But we can be intentional about the message we want our life to have. And so share with me, the message you'd like your life to have, and the steps that you continue to take in order to create that.
What I want to do is probably continue in the steps of my grandmother. My grandmother was a person that I don't know if she ever knew how much she impacted me and other people, because she was always giving, giving, giving. Even if she didn't have it, she would give. And I feel like that's something that I guess in my family we were taught basically to give, even to the point now where people will ask me, what do you want for a gift? And I'm like, nothing. There's nothing you can give me, like, except for soap. That's the only thing that I will take, because I'm a sucker for good soap. But I want to continue the legacy of, or if it's a legacy of basically being in a position to give. And I hope that after I have, said my goodbyes to this world, that, I don't want people crying or anything, that I hope people say, okay, whatever she gave to us, give that to somebody else. Give that to a new nephew Stan, or a new niece, or something like that.
Yeah.
Basically continue to pay it forward, not just look at, being in a place of privilege, but take your privilege and pass that on to others, whether that is opening a door for someone that's been banging on the door. This person has been applying for a job. They don't have the right person. Maybe someone, drop that information, networking and so forth. So I would hope that after I've checked out, that people will say, Pusha Key pushed us, and after her death, let us keep pushing in her honor.
Well, I want to say that's beautiful. And you're living your legacy right now, because Pusha Key, and I'm speaking for all of us, not just for myself, because I know I can do this. Pusha Key is pushing us. To this day, you're pushing us, and pushing us to greater, not just living a greater life, but living a greater life of well-being that encompasses caring for the larger community of people. You've already talked about it on this interview, self-care, the importance of taking care of yourself, not just going to a spa, or not just taking a trip, but taking a trip and creating a meaning behind that trip, like you did with your brother in that tie. And so thank you for just being Pusha Key. I'm gonna just say that. Thank you for being
awesome. Thank you.
And a No Madness cheerleader. Aren't you the No Madness cheerleader?
For what, 5-6 years or so, until they named the award after me.
What advice would you leave for people who want to begin traveling abroad? Someone who wants to move. I've talked to many people who just want to leave this country and they don't know where to start. And so just with that, someone who wants to start traveling solo internationally, and someone who wants to just leave this country, the United States, and move to another country, what tips would you share? What advice would you share as far as what they should be thinking about and doing?
Okay, for someone that wants to start traveling solo internationally, I would probably say recommend somewhere that is maybe close to the United States. If they're coming from the United States, could be Canada. Vancouver is always a nice place to start. It could be something like going to Aruba or somewhere like that that may be close. They may not want to go to Tanzania on their first trip, although, I mean, you could probably do it. But I just want to encourage them to say, they have obviously some type of burning desire in them. So they should quench that thirst and go. Just go. Book that ish, book that trip and go. For someone that wants to move overseas and they don't know where to go, the first thing I'd like to tell people is, which some people don't agree with me, is figure out how are you going to make money? Or if you already have reserves or you have cash on hand, figure out what the visa processes are like. You can just type in visa for countries and you can see what the process is like instantly. But definitely the first thing, if you're planning to work, figure out how you're going to make money. A lot of people assume that they can just come into a country and start working. You cannot do that. There are other places that you will have to apply for things like a critical skills visa or a work permit. And in some countries, they will take the local before they take you. So a lot of people need to know that just because you want to move doesn't mean that you get special privileges wherever you may be going.
Right. So as we come to a close, I just want to say thank you again for this time and this opportunity to have this intimate conversation with you, to hear about your legacy and your end of life plan, and just to hear about all of the ways in which you are encouraging people to get out of their comfort zone and to embrace living their entire life. Share with the audience how people can find you, how they can book that ish through your company and travel with you to, Dubai and all the other amazing places you're traveling to.
Okay, awesome. First of all, thank you for having me. I really appreciate. This has been probably one of the most interesting and diverse interviews I've had. I love this one. The format has been great, so I've really enjoyed that. As far as how to find me, a lot of people can find me on Instagram at just me Kenna, and that's just me Kenna, or you can email me at my business email, which is Kenna Kenna at Kenna Kenna L Williams LLC.com.
One last question before we close.
Mm-hmm.
How do people get these trips? I saw the last Dubai blackout was booked in 60 seconds.
You know what? I don't
Fully
know.
booked. No more slots.
I don't know. Well, that was the Morocco trip.
Morocco, yes.
I don't know. I don't know. What I normally do is post up a link with slots, and then people just book them. To the point where sometimes I have to kill the link, because sometimes the link will actually go over my actual number where I have to kill it right away. But I think because most of the people that have been traveling with me for years, they know I think they actually keep open several screens. So they may have it on their phone, they may have it on iPad or somewhere. So they're clicking on whichever one goes through, they're doing it. So that's what I've been told.
All right. So let me just prepare people who are listening for this. So when you open a trip, you announce it in advance. You say on this date, I'll let you tell it. How does it work so people can have their multiple screens open and be prepared to be disappointed? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, normally what the trips are pretty, I don't want to say they're competitive, but there are only a few slots for trips. So I had a trip recently where there were 50 slots, and those slots, they pretty much sold out in less than a minute. And I give people warnings, months in advance. This is when it's going to take place. A couple of days prior, I don't say anything. I don't post anything. I don't do anything, because as soon as it happens, the link is automatically scheduled. Click, boom, it happens. And I just sit and watch and say, okay, I need to kill the link before it goes over. So, and that's it. And people you'll see the, yay, I got in. I'm sorry I didn't get in. I don't like you guys. I hate you, I was like, okay, sorry. Maybe something else will open up. And, sometimes people can't make it and they switch off and give up their spots.
And are you announcing that in a Facebook group, or this is on your website, right?
No, it's announced on Facebook. It's on a page that I used to be a weight loss page, but it's called Kenna L Paleo, which is KENNA LEO PALEO. That's the Facebook page, and I post pretty much everything there.
And is that group open to the public? Is it a private?
It's a public page, so anybody can see it. Anyone can see. They can send a message to me, comment on anything, and I generally do answer if I see the message there. I see it, except doing buy-ins, because I can't. Because my phones are going off like crazy during that time. Yeah.
So again, thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too.
And I hope this won't be our last time having a conversation.
It will not. It's just beginning.